So from the conditioned state, Bhagavad Gita will lead to discuss about Karma Yoga, and also again after Karma Yoga, we'll move to Jnana Yoga, and also from Jnana Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga means controlling the body and mind. Like Karma Yoga means something which we do with our senses, gross senses, and Jnana Yoga means dedicating our mind and intelligence in for the spiritual advancement. And Ashtanga Yoga, like it deals with renouncing the fruits and control of the senses and mind, and meditating on the supreme personality of Godhead as Paramatma within the heart. And finally, the ultimate is the Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, like it deals with it. It includes all the below yoga systems. Yoga means it includes Karma Yoga, it includes Jnana Yoga, it includes Ashtanga Yoga, and it is the perfection of all the yogas. That is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga deals with loving devotion service to Krishna. So in the Karma Yoga, we will be only focused on doing what we wanted to do, and only for our sense enjoyment, our enjoyment. And then above Karma Yoga, above conditioned life is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga deals with performing our activity by our own way, and then giving up the results to Krishna, giving up results to, or giving the results to God. And above Karma Yoga is Jnana Yoga, means doing the same work in a proper with proper knowledge. And then above that is Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga deals with controlling the mind and senses and focusing on Paramatma, and above that is Bhakti Yoga. So here, before we go onto Battle of Kurukshetra, it is better to know the family tree of the Mahabharata. So basically, it all starts with Shantanu Maharaj. Shantanu Maharaj, he was the king of Bharat Varsha, means he is the king at Hastinapur. So he actually had his first wife Ganga and second wife Satyavati, and from his first wife Bhishma Dev was born, and Bhishma Dev was Bhishma Dev ought not to get married and stay only as a guardian to the kingdom. So, and Satyavati, through Satyavati, Shantanu begot Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. And unfortunately, both of them died in a untimely death. And for that reason, Vyasdeva has to come into picture so that the family continues. So Vyasdeva through Vyasadeva, Ambika, Ambalika, and one more maid servant. So Ambika, Ambalika were not the princesses of the kingdom. So through Vyasdeva impregnates Ambika. From her, Dhritarashtra was born, and from Ambika, Maharaj Pandu was born, and through a maid servant, Vidura was born. So, and Dhritarashtra then later on got married to Gandhari, and she begets Duryodhana and other 99 sons. Like they are called Kauravas, or the sons of Dhritarashtra. And she also begets a son. I think she's a daughter, Yutsu. So, and Pandu, he marries Kunti, and from her he begets Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna. And he from Madri, Pandu gets Nakula and Sahadev. So the Pandavas are 5 sons of Pandu Maharaj. So that's why they are called as Pandavas. And Kauravas are 100 in number. So because of actually when Dhritarashtra was born, he was born blind. That's why he was not given the kingdom. He was not made the king. So that then Panduraj become the king, and Pandu become, after he became the king, he ruled nicely and he expanded the kingdom. It was going good, but suddenly one time he gets a curse. Accidentally Panduraj gets a curse, which so that when he accidentally killed a sage, Sage assumed a form of deer and he was playing with his wife. And Pandu thinks that it is a deer and he kills him. So, and Sage curses him, like, whenever you unite with your wife, you will die. That's what he curses him that way. So when he got this curse, he actually left the kingdom and then started living in the forest. Even though he was the king, but he appointed his brother Dhritarashtra as the what do you call steward, or no, acting king. So then after that, um, and but due to that curse, Pandu dies. After some time, when he tries to unite with his wife, he dies, and then Madri, along with Pandu Raj, they both ascends to the higher planets. Means she actually enters the fire along with Pandu, and then Kunti, along with all the 5 sons of Pandu, she comes back to the kingdom of Hastinapur. So at Hastinapur, basically in the absence of Pandu, the Kauravas, the sons of Dhritarashtra, they actually think they actually what do you call? They actually got used to the kingdom, and they don't want to they don't want Pandavas to enter into the kingdom. So there was always been a cold war going on in the between Pandavas and Kauravas. So finally, all the elders sit together of the family. They divided for the Kauravas. They gave Hastinapur for Pandavas. For Kauravas, they gave Hastinapur, the kingdom, a portion of the kingdom, and Pandavas they gave Indraprastha. It is like a barren land. No, that's fine. Even after they got the barren land, still the Pandavas, due to with their ability and all, they made it very wealthy. And after that, like a gambling match takes place. Means when Kauravas invites the Pandavas, when the Kauravas being envious or looking at the wealth of the Pandavas, during the prosperity in the kingdom of Pandavas, they invite them for a gambling match. And then in the gambling match, they cheat in the game, and also they insult their wife Draupadi. Means they try to disturb Draupadi Devi in front of everybody. So that is one of the, and then which leads to after this gambling match is over, Krishna saves Draupadi during the gambling match, and then again after the gambling match is over, when the Pandavas are about to set back to their kingdom, again they are called back again. They are asked to do one more gambling match. Actually, in those days it used to be a custom, like a Kshatriya cannot refuse a challenge, either it be for war or for a gambling match. So that's why again this Pandavas and Kauravas again they go for a gambling match, and they again cheats them. And this time what they did is, if you get cheated, if you are lost in the game, you have to go for 12 years of exile into the forest, and then you have to spend 1 year on 1 year of incognito. Means you should not be recognized by anybody. So if you get recognized, if anybody catches you, if anybody finds your identity, you have to repeat that again. So Pandavas agreed for that, and again they successfully complete 12 years of exile in the forest, and 1 year of incognito. And during this time, the Kauravas were always preparing for the war. They want to fight with the Pandavas. The Pandavas are very powerful, and everybody knows that. And even Kauravas also knows that they cannot easily defeat the Pandavas. That's why during this 13 years, they almost spent all the time in gathering the forces and making ties with other kings, like that. So, and then after 12 years of exile, Pandavas came back and respectfully requested their kingdom back, and but the Kauravas, they refused to yield the Pandavas' kingdom, Indraprastha, back to them. So this leads to then both of them started for war. Both of them started preparing for the war. So Kauravas were managed to gather 11 Akshohinis of army, and uh, Pandavas managed to get 7 Akshohinis of army. Now, in those days, the army strength is used to measure in terms of Akshohinis. You know? Each Akshohinis will have so and so number of horses, horse riders, so and so number of soldiers, and this many number of elephants, and like that. Maharadis, Atirathis, like that. So, so one Akshoni will have a good number of army. So they used to, so that's why so total 18 Akshohinis of army was fought in the battle of Kurukshetra. So that's how when the battle of Kurukshetra, both the armies come together, and then when the battle was about to begin, then Arjuna wants to see the whoever came on the Arjuna, who was from the Pandava side, he wants to see whoever came on the other side, who wants to see the warriors on the other side. So that's how he goes there and he sees them, and a conversation took place between Arjuna and Krishna. So that's the main of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So today, like we'll discuss about the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So I will first discuss with the overview. So Dhritarashtra, basically, during this battle of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra was a blind king. He cannot see or he cannot go for a war. He cannot see personally. So Vyasadeva, who was the sage, who was related to both Pandavas and Kauravas, he suggests Dhritarashtra, saying that you are going to ruin your family. Means it will this if a war happens between Pandavas and Kauravas, it is going to bring a destruction for both the parties. So try to avoid this war. But Dhritarashtra was mostly in favor of war, because he was confident that his sons will win, because of presence of warriors like Bhishma, Drona, Krupacharya, Ashwatthama, and Karna. Like that, very powerful warriors are there on my side. So, and also I have 11 Akshohinis army, so I might win the war. Why should I avoid this war? That was the mentality of Dhritarashtra. And also he was bound by the love of his son Dhritarashtra. Means he cannot refuse anything decided by the Duryodhana. He's the son of Dhritarashtra. So that point of time, the Vyasdeva gets little bit upset with him and says, so okay, anyhow this destruction is going to take place. Now that you are blind, should I give you the eyes to see the destruction of your own kingdom? And Dhritarashtra says, why should I need the eyes to see the destruction of my own kingdom, my own family? So then he says, okay, then if you want to know, if you like, then Dhritarashtra requests Vyasdev to give divine vision to Sanjaya, who was the minister of Dhritarashtra. So Vyasdev gives that benediction to Sanjaya, and then Sanjaya can see what all happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra and what each character is even thinking of during the battle of Kurukshetra. So every morning, Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya used to sit together, and Sanjaya used to see everything in his meditation, and then used to narrate whatever is happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. That is the context of like how Bhagavad Gita is recited. So now, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita starts with inquiry from Dhritarashtra. Okay, so Dhritarashtra inquires to Sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra says, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, my sons and sons of Pandavas, they gather to fight, and what they are doing. It starts with that question by a blind king, who is also spiritually blind, and then Sanjaya sees with his divine vision and explains what all going on in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and then how Duryodhana goes to Dronacharya and have a conversation, and he is explaining about the warriors on the both sides, and then the both the parties blows the conch shells. Means conch shells. Why the significance of this conch shells is, in those days where they used to follow, they used to be most of them are used to be satyavrata, means they are very honest in, like they are they were, and they are, they used to be have signs or omens, so that that also will be described, and also which will indicate either victory or defeat, other either something gaining or something losing, like that. And then we'll discuss about Arjuna's observing the army, because Arjuna comes along with Krishna to see whoever came on the battle to for the war on the other side. And then Arjuna sees everybody, and then Arjuna's observations, and Arjuna decides after seeing the war, and Arjuna develops kind of compassion towards their enemy, who was their relatives, and then he decides not to fight, and he gives 5 reasons to not to fight, and we are going to discuss along all those reasons. Okay, so the first sloka of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is like Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyussavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kima kurvata Sanjaya. O Sanjaya, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, having gathered with the desire to fight at Kurukshetra, the place of Dharma? So, like we'll be discussing few commentaries by different acharyas, who says which will give better insights about Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so here Dhritarashtra know like why his sons has went to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and because they went to fight, and why he is again asking why, what did my sons and Pandavas sons do? No, so basically what he is asking is the Kurukshetra, the battlefield where the Kurukshetra has a greater significance, means like whoever like whatever happens at that place, it is going to happen according to dharma. Dharma means whoever is righteous, they are going to win, and also the place will have the impact on the mentality and the thinking of the persons who enter into that field. So that's why he asked, like after going to battle of Kurukshetra, did my son change anywhere? Because he actually at one point of time, Dhritarashtra also sincerely tries to change Duryodhana to avoid war, but he didn't listen, and so he gives it away, and anyhow he was confident that his sons are going to win. And then he says like if maybe Pandavas, after entering into the battle of Kurukshetra, looking at the relatives, they may develop some kind of they may change their mind, why to avoid why to fight with my own relatives for the sake of kingdom, and they may give up the battlefield. That's why he asks like what did they do. So then afterwards, then Sanjaya meditates on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Sanjaya starts speaking. So second sloka says, Sanjaya uvacha drishtva tu pandavanekam yudam duryodhanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam abravet. Sanjaya said, seeing the array of the Pandavas troops, Duryodhana approached his teacher Drona and spoke these words. So here Dronacharya is the combined martial teacher for both the Pandavas and Kauravas. So we'll discuss a little bit about Dronacharya's life. So Dronacharya basically, he was from a very good Brahmin lineage. Means he's a then he was very poor in the beginning, and when he was not able to feed his own children. At that point of time, he used to have a friend called Drupad. Drupad actually Drupad and Dronacharya are classmates. Means they took the education from the same teacher, And at that point of time, Drupad gave the words to Dronacharya, saying that when I become king, whenever you come to my, whenever you come to me, I will not take good care of you. No, don't hesitate to come to me, for any help you needed. Like that, he gives the word. So, but later on, Drupad becomes the king, and Dronacharya becomes, very poor Brahmana, and he was not able to, feed his wife and his kid also. So Dronacharya, what he thinks, he thinks like, okay, my friend is there, Drupad, he may help me in this regard. So he tries to, he goes to Drupad, just like, Sudama goes to Krishna. So there Sudama was nicely treated by Krishna, and he was given lot of help materially and like that. But here, what happened when Dronacharya goes to Drupad? He Drupad feels very what do you call, uncomfortable by uncomfortable to accept Dronacharya as his friend, because he was a very poor Brahmana and he was a very king. He was a very powerful king. So he insults Dronacharya. You poor Brahmana, if you want wealth, you can directly come and beg me. Why you propose me as your friend? Why you address me as your friend? Like that, he insults him. So being when Dronacharya gets insulted, like Dronacharya walks away from there without taking any charity, because he actually approached Drupad as a friend. So after that, when he on his way back from Drupad, he actually happens to meet Pandavas and Kauravas, and he actually displays his uh, proficiency in the martial arts, means like shooting arrows, something like that. So that point of time, he was appointed as the martial teacher for Pandavas and Kauravas, who are the princesses. So after training them properly, then Dronacharya sends Arjuna to take revenge on Drupad. So that's how, then Drupad, Arjuna comes along with his 5 brothers, and he comes and he defeats Drupad, and then he brings Drupad as a impress, like he brings back Drupad as imprisoner. So at that point of time, Dronacharya insults Drupad and takes half of his kingdom, and then gives half of the kingdom to Drupad and says, "You are my friend. No, now we both are on equal level. No, so you have this half kingdom and I have the half kingdom. So as a courtesy, I am giving you half of the kingdom. Go and rule." Like that, he gives back. So for a Kshatriya, getting insult is worse than death. So what does Drupad do? He actually performs a sacrifice to kill Dronacharya. Now, so that he performs a sacrifice so that he can get a son to kill Dronacharya. So after that sacrifice, he gets a son, named Drishtadyumna, and along with Drishtadyumna, he also gets Draupadi as his daughter. So, and when Drupad gets his son, who is going to kill Dronacharya, he actually wants to train him nicely in the martial arts, means in the what do you call, in the education education regarding the war. So he sends the same Drishtadyumna to Dronacharya himself, and Dronacharya knows that this child is begotten by the Drupad to kill me, but still Dronacharya teaches all the martial arts to him also. So that is the character of Dronacharya, means he is not cared about what is going to happen in future. He just wanted to do his own duty properly. So Drupad, Drishtadyumna was very well trained by Dronacharya. So in the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra, the Pandava side was headed by the general of the Pandava side was Bhishma, and the general of the Kauravas was Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna was appointed as the general for the Kaurava side, for Pandava side. And seeing the Pandavas army so nicely arranged, and Duryodhana wants to kind of criticize or make fun of Dronacharya, because even after knowing that Dushadhana is going to kill him, Dronacharya has taught all the martial arts to Dushadhimna. That's why he is saying that he comes to looking after the Pandavas army, says this martial teacher, Dronacharya, he unnecessarily taught all these martial techniques, now how to arrange the army, how to so that it will be challenging to the opponent. So in those days, like they used to fight with different kind of weapons, like powerful astras, shastras, like that. Everything matters. What, how you arrange the army. In those days, the rules used to be like that. Uh, uh, the one party will arrange the army in certain format, and other party will arrange, and other party will has to, what you call, break it by the end of the day. And if the other party fails to break the formation by end of the day, then it is declared that the party which fails to break the formation is declared to be lost in the war. So that is the like few rules. So like one day one party arranges, another day other party arranges, like that. So now seeing the army formation of the Pandavas, this Duryodhana gets very much agitated, and then he comes to Dronacharya and mocks his teacher. So after that, Duryodhana starts saying, Pasyaitam Panduputraanam Acharya Mahatam Chunum Vyudam Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. O teacher, see this great army of the sons of Pandu, arranged for the battle by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. So this he just trying to instigate anger in the Dronacharya, so that he will fight with the he will try to compensate for his mistake. So, and also after that he describes Duryodhana goes ahead and describes like, here are brave men skillful with great bow, equal to Bhima and Arjuna in the battle. Like he says Arjuna in the battle. Now these are he mentions about some of the warriors on his side: Satyaki, Virata, Drupada, or Drupada and Maharatha. And and he also says Drishtaketu, Chutakeshu, King of Kashi, Purujana, Kunti Bhoja, Shaibya, and Yudhamanyu, Uttamaoja, Abhim. So these are the warriors on the side of the Pandavas. He is counting the warriors on the Pandava side. After mentioning to the his spiritual martial teacher, and then like this the count of one what Akshogni, like one Akshogni will have this many Maharathis, this many Ardharathis, like that. So we'll not be going in depth into that. So then he also says, Asmakam to Vishishta etani bodha dvijottama Nayaka mama sainyasya sanyartam tan bravimite. O best of Brahmanas, understand who is on our side, the commander of my army. I will list them. So Duryodhana actually he listed the powerful warriors on the other side, and now he is going to list the Pandavas on his side. He says about Vikarna, about all these Bhishma, Karna, and other warriors on his side. Krupacharya, Drona, Ashwatthama, and there are also many brave men who have given up their lives for my sake, and skillfully at fighting, armed with various missiles and weapons of close combat. So, and our army is protected by Bhishma, is immeasurable, but their army is protected by Bhima, is limited. So basically, in those days, Bhishma Dev was the greatest warrior in the on the face of the earth. So that's why he is very confident on the about the Bhishma Dev being on their side. That's why he is comparing the generals and also showing them to be weak, just to motivate his warriors, so that they will fight with confidence. So in the war field, the more than the numbers, the amount of the confidence, the tactics with which they fight also matters. So Duryodhana, being a very nice, very good politician and a very nice diplomat, he is trying to motivate his armies. Okay. So situated in your position for attack, you should protect Bhishma on all sides. He is addressing to his spiritual master, his martial teacher, Dronacharya, that Bhishma Dev is on our side. He is going to give us all protection. You should give him nice, cover. Means you should protect him. He will be fighting and make sure that nobody attacks on him. So that's how he is saying. So now we will have a little discussion about the characters of the characters in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So we actually are we already came across the Duryodhana's Dhritarashtra mentality, right? So Dhritarashtra was born blind. Like this is the conversation between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra, right? So Dhritarashtra is born blind, and he didn't accept this unchangeable defects in him. And he wants to have the kingdom, and when he was made a temporary king, and he took it as permanently, and he does not want to quit his position. So and he had the association of very saintly persons like Bhishma Dev, Krupacharya, and many saintly persons in his kingdom. He has the association of Vidura. So he did not take the association of devotees. Association means listening from them and following their instructions. When you listen from them, you will have a certain impact. When you follow them, you will have greater impact on our life. So if we change on that level, we can avoid many undesirable things in our lives. Like if Dhritarashtra would have listened to Vidura or Bhishma Dev, or any other saintly person in his kingdom, he would have not ended up in this war situation. So Dhritarashtra mentality was just to acquire, just to use everything for his sense gratification. So Dhritarashtra mentality will lead to Duryodhana behavior. We'll discuss the Duryodhana behavior later on, in the next to Dhritarashtra. So what is the character of Dhritarashtra? He hears. He takes when Vidura or Bhishma or Vyasadeva, when anybody suggests anything to him, because he was on the kingly position, he hears them, he understands them, but he does not follow. So this is called the weakness of heart. You know what it is good for our life, but we are not able to follow that, the good thing. So best remedy for this is taking the association of devotees seriously, means being more and more in the association of devotees. Like just like an iron rod kept in the fire will turn into iron after some time. It is as good as fire. So in the same way, when we are in the association of saintly devotees, this nature, this mentality of focusing only spending the life for materialistic benefits, and wasting like spending on greed, envy, anger, this kind of bad qualities will not have impact on our lives. So we have to take the association of devotees, and we should try to overcome our weakness of heart through the association of devotees. And Duryodhana mentality. What is the Duryodhana mentality? He basically his main problem is bad association. Basically, everybody, uh, how much ever good or how much ever bad we are all made up by our association. So he has the bad company of his uh, maternal uncle Shakuni and his friend Karna. These are all bad associates, means they will do whatever is whatever will uh, make Duryodhana happy. Hmm? And then even though if Duryodhana is wrong, they will say he's right. So that kind of company he has. And he is envy personified. Envy towards successful people and greed for whatever is not his. Because he already has his own kingdom. And but still he wants to king other kingdom, not by his hard work, by cheating. So even after having the kingdom of Pandavas and Kauravas, at the beginning of the war, like of when the Pandavas finishes their 13 years of exile and then comes back and requests for their kingdom, Duryodhana refuses to give their kingdom back. So then Pandavas will what they do? Okay, let him have the kingdom, and then they request, because we are Kshatriyas, we have to rule by our nature. We have to be in a ruling position in our nature. So at least give 5 villages for us, our 5 Pandavas, so that every brother will rule one village, and we will be satisfied with that. They came with that proposition also, but still he still rejects that policy, that proposition also. So he has no satisfaction at all, and he is envy personified, means he does not want his opponents to have to be, even though they tolerated so many insults, even though tolerated so many hardships due to Duryodhana, they still, the Pandavas wanted to avoid the war and have a peace treaty with him, but still he refuses all the uh, what do you call, propositions from the Pandava side. So he has a cheating mentality. He agrees for the foul games. In the dice match he cheats, and he wants to do vengeance. For petty things. So and he doesn't go, he doesn't go not letting go anything, means for when like see like when Duryodhana was a little bit insulted, it was said that when he sees the opponents of the Pandavas, he was envious inside. But it is said that in somewhere, when he slips and falls down, when Draupadi laughs. It's the nature of women to sometimes as a as a relative, she thought like she no, it's a maybe it's not by manners, but some mistakes happen. So for that small thing, he actually brings the Pandavas, gamble for the gambling match, and tries to insult the Draupadi. So this is the uh, Duryodhana's behavior, Duryodhana's mentality. So we come across, or we may sometimes have these qualities arising within us also sometimes, but we should be very careful. And what is the best way to avoid all those things? Everything starts with bad association. If we have the association, jaisa sang vaisa rang, means our nature depends upon the type of association that we have. It is said that, right? Tell me, show me your friends, I will I will tell about you. Means our characters mainly depends upon the type of association we keep. We keep the association of saintly persons. We keep the association of responsible persons. Uh, then we will also develop the such qualities. If we keep the association of only sense enjoyers, just spending their life for sense enjoyment, and spend envy, greed, anger, lusty. If we have the association of that kind of persons, we also develop those qualities. Those qualities will not give peace of mind for us, and will never be satisfied, and will lead to ruination of everybody. So we should be very careful to avoid those things. And like just like Duryodhana when we are discussing Duryodhana qualities, we also experience those qualities. So if we have those qualities, we will end up misusing our human form of life. So, and Duryodhana, he doesn't follow any dharma. What is dharma? Dharma means principles before pleasure. Means we are in leading our life, we have to give value for the principles. Means the truthfulness, the cleanliness, in satyam, saucham, daya, satyam means mercifulness, compassion towards others, means being truthful like that. And we should have a control now, sense control, because there is no limit for our sense gratification. The more we feed to our senses, the more they demand. So we should have a proper control on our senses. So just like that is the example of Ravana. Ravana has thousands of wives, but still he went for Sita and he was not willing to give up Sita Devi. That's why he was killed. Hiranyakashipu also has many. He has all the demigods, all the three planetary systems listening to him, but he only have one son. His son Prahlad, was not listening to him. If he would have let him go, then he would not have killed by the Narsingadev. So when our senses are when our anchoring of our senses is uncontrolled, it will lead to the ruination. So just like Duryodhana, we also undergo battles in different levels. Internally, we go with there will be a battle with ourselves, our lower self with our ourselves with our lower nature. Lower nature means cheating propensity, or no sense enjoyment, illicit sense enjoyment, like that. So there is a battle, and externally with other living entities. This is also Duryodhana's mentality. Okay. So there is a biologist called E.O. Wilson. He says in the ecology, only humans do not add any values. Every animal who is living in the on the planet adds something to the ecology. Means for the what do you call, for the preservation of ecology, but only does not humans does not add any values to the ecology. Means that is the nature. What you call, that is the position of human being on the biological terms. But what is the purpose of human life? Purpose of human life is not to lead the animalistic life. Animals is, as per this biologist, animals add value to the ecology, but humans does not add any value. Means humans only exploit the nature. So what is the purpose of human form of life? It is, if it is, if the nature created everything, and every living, means like herbivorous animals feed on the grass, and carnivorous animals feed on herbivorous animals. So they maintain perfect balance, so that there is a proper number of count of herbivorous animals, there is proper number of count of carnivorous animals, and the grass fields are nicely maintained, like that. And this ecology is perfect balance, but human does not have any place in the cycle of ecology. What is the purpose of human life is to not it is to go beyond the basic needs of animalistic life. Means animals also eats, animals also sleeps, animals also mates, and animal also defends means preserves his own race. But as a human beings, we should focus on going beyond this animalistic nature. We should give importance to our spiritual self-realization and go beyond the and what is the purpose of human form of life? Why we are empowered with such a high intelligence, such a high power of physical and mental abilities? Like that, we have to think and we have to recognize that purpose. Then only we will be better than animals. And when it comes to Arjuna, why we are discussing about this nature? Because when we have Dhritarashtra mentality, we will be mainly leading life like an animal, not following the dharma. So what is Arjuna's nature? Arjuna's nature, Arjuna is a friend in devotion towards Krishna. Means he's a devotee. He's a follower of Dharma and he is compassionate. Even though his opponents has cheated him many times, he is ready to forgive them. And he is very compassionate towards them. So, and what we can learn from Arjuna, like when Pandavas were in exile, Arjuna was preparing constantly for the battle. He knows that Duryodhana is not going to listen to them, and Duryodhana will not give the kingdom back after 13 years. That's why he was constantly preparing for the war. That's why he said, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. Means, if you work hard when you have time, then you will be able to manage the stressful situations. Means, like, when our health is nice, when our family surroundings are peaceful, we should not use all these facilities. We should not take all these facilities for granted. We should use them for our higher purpose. Means, for the purpose of our spiritual advancement. And we should learn about what is the best way of utilizing the human form of life. And even also in materialistic terms also, we can try to advance materially as well as spiritually. So the more you practice your spiritual culture intensely when your life is going peacefully, then when a provoking situation comes in your life, we will be able to face them boldly without bleeding too much. Like when somebody provokes you, or whenever you come across some situation that will tempt you, to end up in illicit activities. When you have this spiritual understanding, what is the value of life, like, unless we have the spiritual values, we will not, we cannot resist our mind not being provoked by tempting situations, like, to engage in intoxication, to engage in illicit activities, in illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating, like that kind of situations. So unless we have the spiritual background, unless we have proper consciousness, unless we have the proper reasoning for all those things, we cannot resist them. And if we can't resist them, we will end up in ruination. The ruination may not be visible right and then and there, but it is destined. If you in a prolonged way, if you continue that on our what do you call, prohibited actions, if you keep doing that prohibited actions, then our character will be ruined, health will be ruined, and human form of life will be lost. And what is the Krishna's nature? So here, when we see in the battle of Kurukshetra, the Duryodhana was telling his Dronacharya that side they have so and so warriors, and this side they have so and so warriors. So we are more better than them. Like that, he's comparing. But he's not taking the Krishna, who is present on the other side, as a chariot driver of Arjuna into consideration. He's not counting him at all. So that is the nature of non-devotees. When the non-devotees thinks, they only thinks about how much wealth I have, how much education I have, how much friends I have, how much social circle I have, but they don't think that do I have Krishna in my heart. So, but the devotees give greater importance to Krishna. Actually, there is a nice story. In the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra, both the Pandavas and Kauravas were, when it is decided that the war is imminent, war will happen for sure, then both Pandavas and Kauravas started gathering the army, and they used to go to different kings and ask for their support. So in that way, once what happened, Krishna was resting in his palace. So at that point of time, Duryodhana and Arjuna came to Krishna for help in the battlefield, to fight on their behalf. So first Duryodhana came, and Krishna was sleeping there, and after that Arjuna came. So Duryodhana came, and then he saw two seats. One is towards the head of the Krishna, and another seat is towards the feet of the Krishna. So Duryodhana, he thought like, oh, I'm a king. I'm a king. I cannot sit towards the feet, so I will sit towards the head. So he sits towards the head of Krishna, and Arjuna sits towards the feet of Krishna. So when Krishna opens his eyes, he first sees Arjuna. And he says, "Oh Arjuna, when you came, how was your trip?" And he asked that. And then Duryodhana makes some sound, and so that Krishna will recognize his presence also. So Krishna turns towards Duryodhana and says, "So," and also, "Oh Duryodhana, you also came. Very nice to see you," like that. And then they ask, "What is the purpose of your visit?" He asks first Arjuna. And Duryodhana immediately says, "Oh, actually, I came first. Oh, you should give the first choice to me." Uh, then Krishna says, "Because you might have come first, but I saw Arjuna first. So that's why I gave the first choice to Arjuna." And Arjuna says that I came to, you know, I came to request your help in the battlefield, battle that is going to happen between Kauravas and us, Pandavas. And Krishna says, "Okay, let us, this is the situation. So I have one Akshayani of powerful Narayani Sena. There is no army in this entire creation that can defeat this Narayani Sena. That entire Sena, along with their powerful weapons, is on one side, and I am on other side. And I don't fight in the war. I will not hold any weapon. I will be only as a counselor. At most I can do is I can drive a chariot," like that he says. "So do you want my army or me?" Arjuna, this choice is given to Arjuna. And Arjuna, without a second thought, he says, "I want you." So that is the nature of devotee. Devotee doesn't care about all these material things. Devotee only cares about what is Krishna and Krishna's service. So, and Duryodhana was rejoiced because he just wanted, Duryodhana was a diplomat. He was he actually wanted to, he was actually, Duryodhana was worried that Arjuna will take Krishna's army and leave Krishna to him. So when Arjuna took Krishna, Duryodhana was rejoiced and he said, "Oh, I don't have any choice now. I have to take your army." Then he takes his army and goes away. So means he gave all his army to the Kauravas, Narayani Sena to Duryodhana, and there is one more pastime. So Krishna, when he previously he killed Kamsa, and Kamsa's father-in-law was Jarasandha. So when Krishna killed Kamsa, Jarasandha came 23 Akshohinis of army 17 times, attacked 17 Krishna 17 times, and every time Krishna and Balram used to defeat all the 23 Akshohinis of army and used to just spare Jarasandha with his life only. Means they have the capacity, Krishna has the capacity to even destroy entire both Kauravas and Pandavas army alone. Just like, here in the case of Jarasandha, he brought 23 Akshohinis of army every time. Whenever he attacks Krishna, he brought 23 Akshohinis of army. And he brought it 17 times. And 17 times Krishna defeated them. And 18th time, he just relocated from Mathura to Dwaraka, so that he don't have to fight with Jarasandha. He could have fought with Jarasandha and killed Jarasandha also, but as per the destiny, Jarasandha has to be killed by Bhima. That's why he spared his life. So Krishna has the power to kill both the Pandavas and Kauravas army combined together. He alone can kill, but he just wanted to glorify his devotee. That's why he gave this choice to Arjuna, so that he can fight and win the glory. So that is the nature of Krishna. Krishna wants to always glorify his devotees, and Krishna wants to you will see in after in the next verses that when Arjuna asks Krishna, like Arjuna says in the beginning of the battle, Krishna, can you drive our army in the middle of the battle so that I can see the armies on the other side? So Krishna would have drove that chariot to in front of Duryodhana and Dushasan, which would have enraged Arjuna. But he drove the chariot in front of Bhishma and Dronacharya and kept the Arjuna chariot in front of them and showed the army on the other side. Why Krishna did that? Because he wants to make Arjuna strong before the beginning of the war, because he knows Arjuna is very weak. Arjuna is very Arjuna respects Bhishma and Dronacharya very much. When it comes to fighting Bhishma and Dronacharya, he has to fight without any hesitation. And also, and at that point of time, when he gets depressed and when he doesn't fights, when he doesn't discharge his duty properly, he will be in trouble. Like means there is a chance that he may lose the battle. So that's why he brought the chariot of Arjuna in front of Dronacharya and Bhishma Dev, so that then when Arjuna sees them, he gets depressed and he refuses to fight. And Krishna convinces him and he gives the message of Bhagavad Gita. And he also wants to give the message of Bhagavad Gita to everyone, keeping the Arjuna as a as a receiver. Okay, so that is one of the reason for Krishna's activities. So we shall end it here. If you have any questions or comments, we can take it from here. Hare Krishna. Anybody have any questions?
No, Parvati. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Randra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki